format, please wave and use your wave function if you want to ask a question. We'll then give you the ability to unmute to ask your question. We'll do it in two sections. We'll start with the broadcast, and that will be Brian Swanson at Sky Sports News.
Hi Frank, you all right?
Hi, got you Brian, yeah, good, thanks.
Just want to kick off with the injury latest. What's happening with regards to Billy Gilmour?
Billy Gilmour's had an operation on his knee this morning, unfortunately, so he'll be out for, we estimate, somewhere between 3 and 4 months, unfortunately.
How do you react to that? How's he feeling?
Well, I'm obviously very disappointed, as we all are here, and Billy is himself. I spoke with him yesterday at length, and just giving him support, really, and being there for him. He's a tough boy. It hits him hard. I get that as well, particularly as a younger player, and he's just made a breakthrough in recent times, and was doing so well. But it is part of football, and I tried to explain to him he should be very pleased with what he's done, the impact he's had this season anyway. Part of our job as players to get on with these things. He'll learn that lesson quickly. His attitude will get him back as quick as he possibly can, and that's the story.
From what you know of his character, how will he recover from this?
Well, his character, for me, is fantastic, particularly with his age, the personality that he's shown getting in and around the first team squad and pushing himself into the team. I'm very sure that he'll show the same character and getting over the injury. He'll do everything right. He'll put in the work in the rehab. He'll mentally tackle it. I know he's got a close-knit family around him that'll be there for him, and we're his family too. We'll be there for him. And the small bonuses, hopefully it will cover a period which is off-season and maybe sort of pre-season. So hopefully he's not missing as many games as he might have done.
Given your recent form, given Manchester United's recent form, do you still feel the momentum is with Chelsea to finish third this season?
No, I don't. It's easy to bring up momentum, and I probably have done at times because I get asked it a lot. I don't fully believe in it. I believe in the next game that comes. So even though we've had some good results of late, generally, you're only as good as your next game. That's the important one in front of us. So we are sort of in charge of our own destiny on that side of things, and I'm not reverting back to previous results. We're looking ahead to Sheffield United onwards.
Just two more from me, Frank. Reports this lunchtime say Tammy Abraham has triggered a clause in his contract. Still got 3 more years remaining. What more can you add to that?
I don't want to get into the clauses in contracts. One that would be a long, could open me up to many a question, that one. But I said it before the last game when I was asked, he's not at a critical stage in his contract. He needs to focus on his plan. We need to focus on trying to finish the season as well as we can. And there'll be plenty of time to sit down after that.
Finally, from me, Frank, we reported earlier this week on Sky that Chelsea were favourites to sign Kai Havertz, but there was an issue with regards to the asking price. Given your investment so far, how likely is this deal from happening? Unfortunately, another answer from me of that is not something that I want to broach at this moment in time. My focus is completely on the games that we've got. So I don't want to give you a ifs or buts or maybes on any potential for the summer. My focus has to be on the here and now, and that's where we're all at. Thanks, Frank. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Go to Moose at TalkSport.
Hi, Frank. How are you?
Hi, Moose. Good, thanks.
In charge of your own destiny. So basically, if you win the last 4 games, that's you in the top 4, which would have been your objective on day 1 of the season, despite those who probably, when you thought you walked in without being able to spend money in the transfer window, without even Hazard, some thought you wouldn't have been able to manage.
Yeah, I mean, that's all, I suppose, old news. That was the situation, and I get that. In brutal honesty, I didn't even know exactly where my expectations would be because of the change in situation. It's not something that's been common here in recent years. There's been able to be movement. The club has moved forward, and a player like Eden leaving generally would have been replaced in some way. So we've had to find ways around that. Now the destiny is in our hands, and it's up to us. You know, I'm pretty happy where we are. I think we could have done even better at times. But I can't even jump the gun now because we've seen in the last few weeks even how the table can look very different very quickly. So we mustn't jump ahead of ourselves. It's where we end that'll be the important thing.
I guess, but for Jurgen Klopp winning the title, you and Chris Wilder would both have been in the conversation for Manager of the Year. When I spoke to Chris on Thursday, or yesterday even, he said that being one of the greatest ever players at Chelsea, taking the job and tackling it the way you have, has shown quite a lot of bottle. Would you agree with that? I mean, you've really had to believe in yourself, haven't you, to achieve what you have even so far?
Yeah, I probably have, and I appreciate those words from Chris. I don't want to sort of mirror them and say the same myself, but it was a big challenge for me. I've always tried to believe in myself in football, and I think if you're going to manage in the Premier League, you have to believe in your message, because otherwise, who will believe in you? The players, the fans, the club, they won't. So I've been pretty strong on that, and I'm relatively happy so far. Again, I still think we could have done more. And just to come back whilst talking about Chris Wilder, I have to go back with a similar kind of words towards him, because I've seen his story from League One through the Championship, going up against his teams a few times now, and what he's done this year. And he's certainly in the conversation for whatever happens in the final few games. His story as a manager is incredible, and I've got huge respect for him. Thanks, mate.
Okay, we go to John Southall, BBC 5 Live.
Hello, Frank.
Hi.
What's the other injury news? Kante, Kovacic, are they close, and will they be in contention?
Kante's not fit, and Kovacic is back in the squad, so he is fit. Fikayo tomorrow is bordering on fit, but not quite ready for this squad.
Presuming that Jorginho will come into the side the weekend, do you think he'll have a bit of a point to prove?
Yeah, we'll see in terms of selection. I don't want to start talking about the team yet, but I don't think there's a point to prove. I think I spoke about him before the last game. There is no point to prove for Jorginho. He proves it in training and when he plays for me, and simply these things are selection. So I hope there isn't a point to prove as such. I just want to see the usual Jorginho.
And are you confident that he will be a Chelsea player next season?
Again, I keep getting asked about next season. It's irrelevant to me what happens next season. These final few games will define how we sit and look at this season and look forward to next.
Paul Belveston, PLP.
Hi, Frank. I wonder if you've seen any change in Tammy this week after he ended his little wait for a goal last time out.
I haven't seen much, and that's not to say that there may not have been a change, because Tammy, in his personality, is a very positive lad and trains well, is good around the group, and that hasn't changed. But I know that beyond that, sometimes there are feelings beyond that for a player, particularly a goal scorer, if they're having a tough time in front of goal. We had a conversation before the Palace game, so I was particularly delighted to see him break that against them. And I hope there's an uplift mentally for him. I hope his confidence has taken a nice boost, and we'll see.
As far as the season in general for him, only Didier Drogba, Nicolas Anelka have scored more away goals in a Premier League season for Chelsea than his 9 so far in this campaign. Do you expect him to join that sort of illustrious company in more categories as his career keeps going on?
Well, I hope so. And this being his Premier League breakthrough season, really, and at a club like Chelsea, the burden of the number 9 shirt and being one of the main strikers was new to him this year. He's taken it on board really well. He would have learned a lot from the really good patch, and then sometimes a difficult patch. And then the rest of the story is up to him. It's how hard he works and how he takes himself forward now. And that's a good position for him to be in.
Okay, last two. We'll start with Nick and then Jerry to finish.
Hi, Frank. Just on Jorginho, and putting aside, next season and all that, like you said, how pleased have you been with how, because obviously he came on and did well at the weekend, didn't he? How pleased were you with that and just his general attitude? I saw him saying he's not worried about any of the wider issues either. He's just focusing on what's going on now. And how pleased are you that he's able to be that professional and just bide his time and take his chance when it comes?
I'm very pleased, and it's what I expect of players, and I want at the club, because there's no way you go for a season without moments possibly out of the team, without moments that are slightly difficult individually or whatever, and you have to have a toughness to you as a squad individually and collectively. And Jorginho, hence why I made the move to make him vice captain when I came in, because I saw that in his personality. I thought we did well when he came on the other day. It was exactly what I wanted from him at that moment in the game, to take control, to drive it with his voice and his quality of pass, which he's done for a huge part of this season for us as well. So, yeah, I was very pleased with him.
Last question in the broadcast, Jerry Cox.
Hi, Frank. N'Golo Kante's had more injuries this year than previous years. Is this something that's a little concern, not just this season, but for looking into next season? Will you have to manage him slightly differently, do you think?
Well, I would probably tackle it differently, Joe, and we'll see how we are pre-season. The big issue this year was he came to pre-season injured and missed a massive part of pre-season. We tried to get him quickly fit for the Super Cup, in which he was incredible in his performance, but he was still struggling, and that's just been a real domino effect for him. So it's time to maybe take stock at this period. The injury he's got now is not really related to that serious nature of the knee injury that he had coming into this season. It's a small injury, which I think is probably more down to the games played and the lack of pre-season now. I'm happy to look at managing a player like him with the levels he's reached over recent years in his career, and where he's at. I'm very happy to manage him as we see fit. So that will be a very open conversation between myself and Ngolo and our strength and conditioning coach and medical team.
Okay, that's the end of the broadcast section.